All right. Everybody can see my screen all right?
Yes.
All right, great, great.
Yes.
All right, let's jump into this. I'm Richard Stevens. Obviously, I work with John, and a little bit about me. I'm a East Coast native. I'm a huge music concert fan. I love to travel, photography, videography. Um, I was United States Marine for about 8 years. I was a combat photographer, and had a lot of fun. It was probably one of the most unique jobs I'll ever have. A lot of fun traveling around the world, documenting a lot of different things. Have a lot of experience and IT solution building for a lot of private sector and government entities, obviously along the way. Before Greyleaf, obviously, I was in the Marine Corps as a photographer and multimedia specialist, also a data center engineer for the Coast Guard and Cigna as well. So it's a little bit about me. All right, so the agenda today, really, we're going to talk a little bit about what we provide to our partners and clients. Some of the agenda, we're going to talk about, our MSP partners, what we do and provide for them. We're going to go into a little bit about our expert consulting. What are the questions that we ask as consultants? We'll talk a little bit about our project management, our approach to managing software development projects. And then, of course, we'll go into how to contact us and any questions. All right, so yeah, we serve a lot of people in the DMV area, this Maryland, Northern Virginia, DC, obviously Boston and Texas as well. We do a lot of enterprise process analysis, software development. We do agile training as well, and DSIM, data center infrastructure management. We do a lot for the private sector, federal, state, government, nonprofits, and health and education as well. Here's some of the companies that we've done work with here in the past. Let's go to the next screen. All right, so let's talk about how we really deliver value to managed services providers, MSPs. But our services and methodologies really work well, not only for MSPs, but really well for just working directly with businesses. And we'll show that here. Speaking a little bit more about MSPs, one of the things we do really well is help MSPs generate a recurring revenue stream with their existing clients. In a recent case study with one of our MSP partners, we found that with the services we provide to their clients, in addition to the client experience portal that we created for that MSP, their recurring partner revenue increased about 1,000% over 4 years. Year after year, we provide their clients with our services, in turn creating an IT roadmap organized by their priorities that really fit their clients' budgets. So really a benefit to the MSPs there. One way that we kind of do that is offering this triad, the Greyleaf service triad, which really means we're able to manage every aspect of the project for them. And we're able to provide these three key aspects to our clients and our partners that allow them to really put the entire project in our hands. Our expert consulting, project management, and then of course our development, the development teams that we use. This is our Greyleaf service triad. With our expert consultants, really focusing on what the real needs of the client are, asking the right questions, and our agile mindset with our project management team. Taking on and really developing and working with the end user, the project or the product owner, and then assigning the right development team is the key aspect to that. Getting the right developers on the right project. Really, all of this allows us to manage every single aspect of the project, as well as report back to the MSP along the way. As I'll show you here, further on about how we manage the project with the different tools, really gives that transparency to everyone involved. And really, our consulting starts with helping identify the pain points. And of course, as good consultants, you have to ask the right questions. Once those are really identified and prioritized, as the project begins, our agile project managers really collaborate with the product owners to prioritize those items that really provide the highest business value. Then using really short development cycles that produce small deliverables to the client. The development lifecycle really allows for the client for feedback and really learning. That learning is a really key aspect of learning what you don't know from their perspective, and it really helps guide the project to ultimately giving the product owner, the client, what they really need. All right. So what do we provide our clients? What is this service triad? Really, looking at this a little bit further, our consulting really focuses on what are the problems we're trying to solve, making sure they hit the right problems, and discussing with the client the expected ROI. Our project management approach really provides the client with that transparency throughout the entire process, collaboration with the product owner and the key stakeholders to make sure we're really working on the items that provide the most business value first, using tools that are effective. A key aspect here is we want to fail early and fail fast. And I know that may sound a little counterintuitive, but failing early and failing fast allows us to learn, what is the right path that client needs to take, and ultimately what's going to be the end goal. So it's a very important concept to understand a direction. We collaborate with the client to really develop a minimal viable product, an MVP. So kind of a first phase approach to the project, and then ultimately out of that comes a lot of a few other phases, because they really learn what they didn't know, and it allows the project to really expand and grow. So really, we have a wide range of skill sets, with our development teams, really ensuring that we're choosing the right fit for the right project. The developing in short cycles really provides those small deliverables to the client, which really provides that learning and developing exactly what the client needs versus what they think they want. Our entire process it really involves consistency and transparency to the client. But in the case of working with an MSP, it also provides them, an overview. They're able to check in and see where the project is, just with our management tools, to see how the project is progressing along. And one of the biggest takeaway here is that they're able to hand this over to us, and we can really manage the entire project life cycle. So this is an example of an MSP revenue sharing model. Grayleaf really allows us, the service triad really allows us to introduce a workflow and a process that will perform the work at a discounted rate, and then of course to the MSP, and then MSP will mark that up to market rate. So really every billable hour provides an incentive to the managed service provider, the MSP. This is a different view, for say a 50-hour project, on how this can really benefit the MSP, and really this affects their revenue generation over time, with the things that we've kind of provided to them, and just the different services that we provide. They can work with their clients in developing a really good IT strategic roadmap for each year over year, and that works within their budget. And so, this is just an example of a 50-hour project phase, which I got to tell you usually turns into one or two, maybe three different phases once the project the first phase actually finishes. All right, so some of the ways that we really can provide this to the MSP is through our client experience portal. And this is a product that is designed and configured by us, Grayleaf. And it really provides them an effective way to really communicate with each of their clients and generate that revenue year over year. We're going to chat about that a little bit. So yeah, the CXP really, this view here, the metrics dashboard really gives the client a direct insight into their well-being, their strategic the well-being. So over time they can kind of see what the future, what lies ahead for them as far as like their IT projects and how they want to organize those. The dashboard that we've created really delivers a lot of different things. Some of the key aspects of those: ticket resolution time, audit compliance, and user experience. These are really good metrics that you want to track, and our CXP portal really provides that in a really easy way to view, not only just for the MSP to go in and look at this, but also for the client to log into their portal and see their specific view that we've created for them. And they can see all of these different aspects. And with this, obviously, taking it a little bit further, will help them, provide a plan and, sort out their goals, their quarterly goals, and really, for the MSP's perspective, generate that reoccurring revenue. And the roadmap really lays this out for the client, and of course the road ahead. So it's a really awesome tool that kind of provides that in a really easy to view, all, and this is all configured, that we configure in SharePoint, and provides the client and the MSP a really easy view to kind of see all this. So really, let's talk about our consulting. The question is, what's the next best right thing to do? All right, so how does a consultant differ from a developer? That's it's a question that we get asked sometimes. And a developer, software developer, they're going to pretty much do what you tell them to do. You set up the requirements, and they're going to just do. They're going to create those software solutions. But really, as good consultants, we're going to ask really two questions. What problem are you trying to solve, and how do we know it's the right problem? The good consultants are going to learn about your business. They're going to understand how you differ from other businesses and what makes you unique. They're going to look at different alternatives and really come at it with a different perspective. Really a business perspective. They're going to focus on value for you and what makes sense first, and then from there we'll create good software solutions. So really, why plans really fall short. This slide really talks about, a lot of clients will come in with a simple plan. They think they just need this for their issue, but a good consultant is going to help them successfully navigate the rough waters. You may think that your problem is has an easy solution, but when you really get in and discuss it and find out it's not just from A to B, it's really, could be a little bit, reality is really going to be a little bit harder than that. You may, and a lot of you guys may have experienced this, with an IT project. Plans will always confront reality, and usually reality will definitely win out. Here, most value should be delivered early. As a consultant, we listen and understand, what you think you may want, but in reality, what you want might be something a little less. And that's really what makes a good consultant. Part of what we do at Grayleaf is really get in and ask those right questions. In this example, what they may think they want is, way toward the end, but in reality, after talking with them and really consulting, providing that consulting, we're really saying, you know what, you really don't need that. You need something a little bit less. This is actually what you need. So that consulting is really the first step before managing a project or deciding on a solution. That's really the first step. This slide here is really important because it kind of illustrates the difference in just give me what I want, as a client perspective, and then allows the difference. The other part of that is actually learning along the way to get exactly what you don't know that you actually really need. So which approach really allows for learning? On the topic sample, you start out thinking you know exactly what you want. So you have these ideas and you're just, you state your problem and just, come back with me. I just need a car. That's really what I need. So along the way, that's what you end up with on the top. But on the bottom, we take a little bit of a different approach. In this example, we start with asking questions and developing in really short, or not really short, but just short cycles, a week to 2 week sprints, maybe 3. And really doing that allows the client to really learn what they really want, what they don't know. And that learning will eventually lead them to an end product that they ultimately are going to be satisfied with. And we see this, with a lot of our clients. They start out a certain way. They're not sure about our approach. And by the time we get to the end of the project, they're like, you know what, this is really exactly what I wanted. And we've had a lot of success in developing this way. But what the key point is, they learned from stage to stage. In this bottom example, they're like, well, I want to be mobile. So we start out with a skateboard. And then they figure out, well, you know what, I actually want to steer. So the next development cycle, we provide a way for them to steer. And ultimately, toward the end, they're like, you know what I really found with this is that I like the wind in my hair. I love that feeling. So for them, what they ultimately wanted was a convertible. But they wouldn't have known that unless they were involved in the project. And that collaboration between us and them to figure out, what's the best thing for them. So in that example, they ultimately got what they wanted, and the satisfaction is a lot higher that way. Before I go any further, any questions or any questions yet? All right. Let's go into the project management. We deal in time and materials agreements, and really, our agile approach reduces your risk. It reduces the project cost as well, and this will increase the value that's ultimately delivered toward the end, and it's delivered incrementally, in cycles. And again, this reduces the risk because the client sees it every cycle. They're going to see those deliverables, and they're going to see the progress and see the change, and they're going to learn a lot along the way about the things that they didn't know. And so it's a growing a process for them. So learning really shapes that next cycle, and it does all those things. It provides that value to them every single cycle, which is great for them because it delivers that value really early on. And by the end, there's virtually no risk because they ultimately ended up with exactly what they wanted. Because of that collaboration between us, they actually helped build along the way with their ideas and the things they liked and they didn't like, going in one direction and failing soon. Okay, that's not it. Instead of, over months and months of development, going back, that's, they're going to have a lot of issues, usually with things they would like to tweak. But our approach, they really figure that out along the way with every cycle. Next slide. So this is really in practice how we're able to do that. We start off with, we work with them, collaborate with them on filling out a backlog of to-do items of things that they would like. And then we go into a sprint, like a planning meeting, to really look at those and prioritize those items. And when they choose for them to go into the cycle, they start in development and testing, which is the next step of that. And then the next step after that is the review meeting, where we really review and demo the items that they chose to work on for that cycle or that sprint. And these sprints are usually from, anywhere from 1, 2, 3, sometimes 4 weeks long. It really depends upon the type of project. But after review and demo, we go into a retrospective. And this is a great time. This is where really the learning takes place, where you can, we ask, 2 questions: what's going well and what can be improved. And this is a great time and opportunity for the client or, the product owner to give us that feedback on, what they really like. Maybe they like the process. maybe like they really liked how the developer did something and they want to see more of that. And then they can tell us, things that can be improved. This is probably one of the most important steps in the process, because that learning is taking place, and that is really what sets the direction for the next cycle. And then, as you see, this will keep going until they're you kind of run through that backlog and go through all that till really that phase of that project is done. Because I got to tell you, normally what happens is, during this process and the cycle, you learn a lot about the client as well. You learn a lot about, different things that they like. They'll have ideas. And that's the great thing about the backlog, is all of those ideas will continue to feed into the backlog. And, over time, you still work with them during planning meetings to reorganize and reprioritize, those backlog items. So it really, really helps, in terms of working with an MSP, and working with their clients. It really helps build out different phases. And once they really see the value in the process and the way that things are completed, it really helps them become comfortable with us, and it produces a lot more work generally. So part of how we manage a project, we use a tool called Trello. Some of you may be familiar with this, but it's basically a Kanban board that really allows them to see, every aspect of the project. We'll have different lists. To do, doing, done is a simplified version of this. And we break it down in really to manageable and understandable segments for the client. And again, cards are prioritized. The higher prioritized items will go to the top. And that's how that's how we'll organize it for it to go into the next sprint. And they move left to right as they're getting completed. But it really focuses, the entire process focuses on identifying, what is more important and delivering that value early on. With this here, further digging down into these cards and what the makeup of these items or cards are, we really try to give them an overall view of the project in different, what we call epics, and we tie child cards or items to that main epic. So they will always be able to go to that board and, for that project, and get a quick view of where the project currently stands, which is great because it's very transparent, and it's high level goals that really gives them a quick insight. And what we do is we also invite the MSP as well, that they have access to this. They're able to go in and check on a project and see where it's at. But all of this basically is to say that it's very transparent to the product owner, the client, but as well as the MSP or the client directly. So one of the things we really ask on cards is what is needed, who needs it, and why is it needed? Now, these are very important questions because it really states, what is needing to be done. That way, by the time it gets to our developers, they understand everything that they need to do and from whose perspective they need it from. And again, this is how we title these cards. So it's very, very clear. And all of these cards we set up the same way. One of the best part about using Trello and using these cards is acceptance criteria, because it's a clear definition and an agreement on how everyone will know what work is going to be done. So that way, by the end of the cycle, when you go to review and demo, when you review the work with the client, you can go through this acceptance criteria, and our development team goes through this and they'll check off each one as it's being completed. So the product owner or the client, they're always going to know exactly what's going into every sprint, and that kind of goes into the next slide, talking about estimates. Nothing goes into the development cycle without an estimate from a developer, and all of this work is reviewed with the client on the planning call before we move things into the sprint, and they get to really see the whole view of what they're spending, because that's, budgets are a big concern a lot of times, and they want to make sure that, what they're spending their money on makes sense, and that they understand it. And we found that really a lot of clients that have never worked this way love the process. We've gotten a lot of great feedback and testimonials about the process. And again, in that retrospective, when we talk with them and ask them those two questions, what's going well and what can be improved, a lot of times, we had one client, the NKB, we did a SharePoint development project for them, and they have never really worked in this process before, and they completely fell in love with it. One of the great things that quotes that I remember, early on, I think it was third or fourth meeting, is, one of the executives actually said on the call, I thought we managed things really well, but, this takes it to another level. And I really, that comment always really kind of stuck with me, and it really, goes, speaks, a lot of volume about, the process and how transparent it is for the end client. Here, in that review meeting, they get to see exactly, what the cost for that particular piece of work or development item that was done. Again, for our clients, they're only going to pay for the actual work being done. For this particular example on the screen, it was took about 5 hours is what the developer estimated, but in reality, it only really took them about 4.5. And that transparency to the client, product owner, is key, because they're seeing they're only going to get invoiced for the work that was done. Another thing that we do in retrospective and review is go over the burn rate with them. This is, from week to week, what they're spending on these cards or these items during each development cycle. And, we provide these regular reports to them, as well as reviewed in the meeting, but it allows them to really track and measure the progress. You'll really able to see your return on investment here. And again, this is more of a detailed report that really shows, that exact hours worked on what specific item. This audit report really shows down to the minute, so that there's no surprises for the product owner, and their stakeholders as well. They're given every every look into the project that we can give them, and this process really allows them, everything they need to really feel comfortable. So like I said, we're always constantly getting feedback on how we manage the project and the transparency and consistency that we provide. And it's really turned out really well for us. And it's a great process that we're pretty proud of. Some of the feedback, Ray Steen actually is he's the chief strategy officer for Mainspring. He's an MSP that we work heavily with. We worked with him for probably about 3 to 5 years now, and he's constantly amazed at some of the work that we're producing for his clients. And we'll move on to another one. Jeff Sedgwick, he's one of our recent guys that we've done a disaster recovery planning with. We're currently in a really big project right now with him, multi-phase project, working with a bunch of different stakeholders. He enjoyed our process. For him, it was the first time as well. Going over our process or going through our process and really showing him a different way to track and be involved in our development process. And his biggest thing, he loved the retrospective because he really loved to share his thoughts and his ideas on what he wanted to do for his company. He absolutely loves technology and being able to be efficient. So our process really allowed him to really convey and share that transparency with his executive board. This one here is probably one of my favorite clients that I've worked with recently. NK Bandari, they're great people to work with. We did a SharePoint development project for them that actually spawned 3 other different projects. We started working with them right before COVID-19 happened, and they were kind of moving to that Office 365 and really starting to use those tools to communicate and collaborate. So it took them a little bit of time. They were looking for a SharePoint developer and someone to help them with their O365 deployment. And it was really pleasant working with them. They really loved the process, and we look forward to working with them on a couple different projects in the future for sure. So really, this is how to contact us. You can hit us at our website, gograyleaf.com. You can email us at info@gograyleaf. We also have our Go Gray Leaf LinkedIn and Twitter. Yeah, these are different ways you can contact us. As always, if you guys have any questions, do feel free to shoot us an email or give us a phone call. We love to talk technology, and we love to talk solutions, and we're analytical problem solvers, and we love that stuff. So definitely feel free to reach out.